So welcome to video number 5. We talked about creating to-do lists the right way in the past few videos. Now I want to harness that power of your to-do list that was created appropriately, and let's take it to the next step. And let's hone in the power of you and unleash your productivity. So look at this map right here. This is the amount of work that you're going to be spending. What we want to do with the 80-20 rule is to spend 20% of work that produces 80% of the results. So a lot of times we don't realize this, but we are actually spending 80% work and only getting 20% results, or vice versa, where we are spending a lot of time and getting very little results. But we want to flip that and change that for you today. But you really need to think and change your mind a little bit to think, okay, how can I spend 20% of work and get 80% output? Now, by thinking this way, you begin to realize that throughout your day, you might be spending your time on that non-urgent and not important tasks, which might be that 80%, and only getting like 20 or 10% or less. So by flipping that, that allows you to really think carefully about the tasks at hand. Which tasks are really impacting you for the good in the long term, and which tasks might be, you might complete it point A and be able to complete point B and C and D just by completing that point A. So that's what I really want you to begin to think. Now, in order to really make this impactful, you really need to know your peak energy hours. Now, what I mean by that is, how do you feel the most productive out of your whole day? Do you feel really productive in the mornings? Do you really feel productive maybe right before lunch and you feel tired after lunch? But then again, some other people, they might feel really productive right after lunch, maybe an hour later. So you need to know your peak energy hours. And the reason being is you're going to hone in on that power. And what time of the day, essentially, do you feel more energetic? You want to choose this hour to do more work, because this is going to be where your brain is really thinking and where your brain is really active, and you're able to just really take something that takes, like I said earlier, 5 hours and really get it down to maybe 1 hour or less. And you also want to follow a routine. The more you follow routine, the more you get into a habit of doing some things consistently and on a day-to-day routine, those things tend to kind of embed themselves into who you are, what you do, and it just becomes more of a habit, and it just becomes easy. And when it becomes a habit, sometimes that takes time, and sometimes that takes at least 21 days to actually become a habit. Then it's just going to make life a lot easier. You're going to feel a lot more productive in that sense. So if we think about massively productive people such as Stephen King, John Grisham, Thomas Edison, they all followed strict daily routines. And by doing that, they were able to hone in on that peak productivity hour. And if you think about it, it's kind of like you're running on a treadmill versus you're doing jumping jacks. And if you think about it, when you're doing jumping jacks, it may only take about 15 minutes, but you might burn the same amount of calories, whereas you go running on a treadmill for an hour. So that's why we need to think about, where is your peak energy spike? Once you figure that out, you can begin to hone in on that power, unleash that productivity, and then we can move on to productivity tools, which will actually speed things up for you and make your life a lot easier now that you understand the fundamentals.